In this video, we want to talk about the principle of least connectivity. We've kind of alluded to this principle in previous videos, but it deserves special mention here. This is the governing rule for what network paths should exist in the first place. It's the philosophical foundation behind how you design firewall rules, VLAN configurations, remote access paths, and vendor connections. If you apply it consistently, it changes how you evaluate every network decision. Not just can we connect this, but should we? And if so, exactly how and to what? This principle is pretty straightforward. Permit only network traffic that has a documented current business need. Deny everything else by default. This is the network equivalent of the need to know principle that governs access to sensitive information in security programs. Before any connection is opened between two devices, someone must answer a specific question. What exactly needs to communicate between what specific devices, using what protocol and port, and for what operational reason? If the answer to any of these parts is vague or missing, the connection doesn't get opened. The documented and current qualifiers matter. A connection that was justified when it was created may no longer have a business reason. A temporary troubleshooting path that became permanent. A vendor connection for a system that was decommissioned last year. A pulling path to a PLC that was replaced by a different model with a different IP. These paths can accumulate over time, and each one represents an attack surface that exists for no current operational reason. So applying least connectivity means describing every permitted path with maximum specificity. Example, the SCADA server needs to reach the PLCs is not specific enough. The SCADA server at 10.20.1.10 needs to read registers from PLC line 1 at 10.10.1.50 on TCP port 502 and from PLC line 2 at 10.10.151.51 on TCP port 502 is specific enough to write a firewall rule. The specification should include the exact source IP or address range, the exact destination IP or address range, the exact port or port range, the protocol, TCP, UDP, or both, and the name of the system owner and the business reason for the connection. That last item, the business reason with an owner, is what makes periodic review possible. When you review the firewall rules set 2 years from now, you can ask the named owner whether the connection is still needed. A firewall rule that specifies any source to a destination or a source to any destination is almost always too broad under the principle of least connectivity. Specific rules break a specific application. Broad rules allow broad access, including access that was never intended. The VLAN video established the core pairing. We have VLANs that create zone boundaries. Firewalls enforce what crosses them. Neither works without the other. The principle of least connectivity is what gives that pairing its teeth. A VLAN boundary without a restrictive firewall rule set is a labeled zone with open doors. The zones exist, but anything can cross them. A firewall without well-defined VLAN zones means writing rules against vague, shifting address ranges that are too hard to get precise. When both are in place, specific zones and specific firewall rules at each boundary, you have the structure to express and enforce least connectivity exactly. Module 5 covers firewall configuration in depth, including how to structure rule sets and what a default deny posture looks like in practice. Least connectivity isn't a one-time configuration exercise, it's an ongoing practice. Networks change, new equipment gets added, old equipment gets decommissioned, vendors change, applications get updated, and their communication patterns change. A firewall rule set that accurately reflected least connectivity at system commissioning may have significant gaps or extra paths 2 years later. Building a connection matrix, a spreadsheet or document that lists every permitted path between zones with source, destination, port, protocol, owner, and last verified date makes periodic review practical. Review the matrix annually at a minimum, or whenever significant network changes occur. For every rule that can't be matched to a current active business need, ask whether it should be removed or modified. This kind of structured review also surfaces rules that were added during incidents or troubleshooting and never cleaned up. Allow any to any rules, broad vendor access rules, and paths to decommission systems all tend to accumulate in environments without regular review processes. The next video covers network documentation and diagrams, how to read and create the documents that capture everything we've discussed in this module.